Today we'll be checking out Zorin. That's right, it's a distro review that I haven't done one of these in a while, but I'm excited to show you a sneak peek at Zorin OS 17 today. I'm greeted by the tour here after I've finished installing it. One thing that's been improved is a universal search feature, which allows you to search for apps and find shortcuts to common locations in the menu. Before, it was a little hard to find things here in Zorin, where it had a little bit of a goofy search index, but they've definitely improved that. Like always, we can choose our Zorin appearance and our different layouts, speed up, connect our online accounts, link our phone and computer with Zorin Connect, which is a nice tool to use if you end up using Zorin. And finally, we're going to start using Zorin 17 now. So this is currently a beta release that we're trying out today. We'll be talking about all the changes that they've made, what's new, and reading through their blog. But before we do, let's jump in and start using Zorin a little bit. One thing you'll notice right away is if you start using the search feature, things like searching for specific settings, let's just say like network, well, it's gotten a lot smarter in the way that it searches and indexes the search so that you can find things all across the operating system instead of very specifically indexed and searched items. We've also seen major improvements in how we upgrade Zorin OS with a better GUI upgrader that allows you to directly update Zorin without having to reinstall Zorin. Definitely a welcomed improvement. We're going to check out things like what kernel Zorin 17 is using, as well as memory usage here in a moment. But for the most part, Zorin has updated their desktop to GNOME 43 with their own little sprinkle of customizations to GNOME. But you can check out GNOME features like the newer rounded edged dialogues, where you can reach things such as the new screenshot tool and settings, other things like nightlight, the dark mode, power settings that you can toggle through, and whether or not you have a wired or wireless connection. You can also log out, shut down the computer, restart, and change up the volume directly at the bottom bar. You also have access to the current notifications and a calendar, including events and weather information. On the left-hand side, we have the start menu with the Z, and Zorin being not only one of my favorite distributions, although lacking in some areas, which we'll talk about in a bit, many users go over to Zorin OS to become comfortable with the transition from Windows due to its familiar interface and ease of use. Notice that it does kind of feel like Windows as far as the menus go, especially if you're comparing it to something like Windows 10. It is also known for its stability, a polished interface that users can use, and compatibility with old hardware. What's great here is you can also get to workspaces by just hitting the super key, and again, switching workspaces really easily. Let's open a few things up in the first workspace so we can kind of tell the difference between the two. Notice how things look when you have multiple applications opened up. You got them in the background, you can select between them, and you can go to a fresh workspace by just swiping or scrolling over to a new workspace. Of course, this is coming in with GNOME 43. Things are looking very sleek, completely redesigned windows with very nice subtle details, including rounded corners, a light theme that you can change the accents on. It's great to see a more unified experience than what Ubuntu has been doing. And double tapping the super key expands into the apps grid, and we can select whatever app we want and scroll over to get even more apps, or select again between workspaces if we want. A more unified view here in Zorin. There's a lot of nice updates that have come to Zorin. We're still offered multiple desktop layouts with Zorin, but one of the cooler things that they've added into Zorin 17 is the Spatial desktop. With Desktop Cube, you can enable this so you can switch between workspaces in a 3D format. What does that mean? Let's hit the super key once, and now as I drag, I can roll over with a 3D effect to different workspaces. Basically, it just creates a spatial layout that we can check out, a nice 3D rendering of the varying different workspaces that we have. If we create more, of course, for example, we'll just open up a few more things in here. That'll help us space different apps and even move them across different workspaces. Quite the cool 3D effect. Check it out. Of course, you have to enable it in Zorin 17 if you want to use it. With Zorin 17, of course, you get faster and smoother performance. They've optimized things in the background in order to give you a snappier effect, especially on new hardware. There's been performance optimizations made at the operating system level. The App Store got overhauled, so check that out. If you've been using Zorin 16, you might want to update to 17 so you can explore and use the new software store. Well, there's also one of my favorite things that have been added and is a very requested feature here in Zorin. If we go down to interface, notice there's an advanced window tiling mode. You can select this on, and if you hit the settings, you can actually change the amount of gap and screen edges that show up and some other settings whenever you use the tiling mode. Click on key bindings in order to check out which key bindings drive the window tiling mode, and notice how you can do different types of tiling. So if I do super left arrow, I can open up 2 different windows. I'm going to move out another window, and now I'm going to do super up to maximize the current window. I'll do another super right, and now I can select another window, or super left, and there's edge tiling and corner tiling, of course. Again, if you use general, you can increase the screen edges. Definitely check this out if you enjoy using a tiling manager. It's a unique feature that's been added to Zorin 17. So now that we've explored the desktop a little bit, let's talk about their release here. A sneak peek at Zorin OS 17. Test the beta today, experiencing exciting new features, improvements to take your computer to a whole new level. We're thrilled to finally share our giant leap with the release of Zorin OS 17 beta. This major new release comes packed with exciting new features and improvements to take your computer to a whole new level. We paid close attention to your feedback when designing and crafting Zorin OS 17 to bring you our greatest and most refined computing experience ever. Now let's talk about what's new. Make sure to stick around so you can see the kernel and resource usage in a moment, but I want to talk about something glaring. The last time Zorin updated a major release candidate was in August 17th of 2021. That's right, it's been over 2 years since Zorin has updated a major release. Of course, they've given us some intermediate updates between 16 and 17, but 17 at this point has been overdue. Last time it took about 1.5 years, but it seems like they're slowing things down because some users are definitely expressing concerns about Zorin OS and the base becoming outdated because of its times of release. They're suggesting that a more updated schedule that maybe even aligns with the Ubuntu long-term support releases would be better for Zorin in the long run. Definitely a potential improvement and enhancement. We'll talk about some other potential improvements that they can make, but let's talk about what's new in 17. Universal search and other improvements to Zorin menu as the starting point of your Zorin OS experience. The Zorin menu has been overhauled to make it even faster for you to get where you want. Search for files, calendar, appointments, contacts, apps in the software store, world clocks, and even use the menu search as a calculator. You can adjust which service providers are enabled from settings, search panel, or right-click on the menu, selecting the search settings from the new context menu which also includes a link to edit menu, app, and other system shortcuts. There are also new all apps category in the default menu layout that lets you browse through your apps and in an alphabetically sorted list. Multitasking redefined. Zorin OS 17 makes multitasking more seamless with a new refined activities overview. Workspaces are now arranged horizontally, and you can open the overview with a 3-finger up-down swipe on your touchpad and switch between the 3-finger left and right swipe, as well as usual super logo key, which I've already shown. Double tapping the super key now expands the app grid so you can view the new app by dragging and dropping its icon onto your desired workspace. You can configure the app and workspace switching behavior from settings multitasking panel. The spatial view, introducing a new way to take multitasking to the next level or dimension. Spatial desktop gives you better contextual awareness about what's happening on your desktop, all while making your computing experience more fun. With the new desktop cube, you can switch between workspaces in 3D. Your app windows float off the desktop surface with a parallax effect so you can see behind them. There's also a new spatial window switcher which replaces the standard Alt Tab and Super Tab dialog with a 3D window switcher and makes it much easier to switch quickly between apps with a rich informative visuals. You can enable the spatial desktop features from the new effects section of Zorin Appearance. I showed many of the updates in the Zorin Appearance. You can definitely check that out for yourself if you think Zorin OS is worth a try. Make sure to comment below. Also, don't forget to subscribe below because I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers, and you all have been great for helping me out to get there. Don't forget to like the video. Let's talk about faster and smoother performance. Speed has been the top focus of Zorin OS 17, so the desktop runs dramatically snappier on a wide range of hardware, old and new. Performance optimizations have been made at every level of the operating system, from the kernel to the desktop environment. Apps open faster, animations are smoother, and loading times are reduced so you spend more time being productive. A refreshed, which is fantastic because we can all expect a boost of performance. The refreshed software store. The software store has been greatly improved and now is significantly faster. It supports a beautiful new design with a refined home screen that makes it easier to explore the endless selection of apps available to download. App details pages have been overhauled with bigger screenshots and new information tiles, which provide a better overview of every app. All of these improvements make it easier and more enjoyable than ever to use your favorite apps in Zorin OS. Now, one of my favorite new features is the advanced window tiling. One of our most requested features, we're introducing an advanced window tiling experience for power users. After enabling it from the interface section of Zorin Appearance, you'll immediately be able to use quarter screen corner tiling and keyboard shortcuts. You'll see a helpful pop-up to select the app that you wish to display side by side. Open the information menu and switch to advanced or experimental settings, and you'll have access to custom tiling layouts for more granular options. A new quick settings menu because they're using GNOME 43. The panel's system indicator menu has been completely revamped to give you additional and more beautiful and thoughtful design. It now offers you a direct access to a one-click dark mode toggle and audio device selection, and allows you to adjust your system's performance with the new power modes option. Adjustable power modes, since we were just talking about them, ever wanted to extend the battery life of your laptop on the go or max out your computer's performance when you're doing heavy tasks? The new power modes option lets you change the balance between system performance and power efficiency on demand. Switch between balance for standard performance and power usage, power saver, and performance on supported hardware with one click. There's a new screenshot and recording experience, again because they're using a new GNOME desktop version. Capturing an image or video of the screen is a great way to show and remember exactly what was happening on your computer, making it easier to share, explain, and solve problems. To improve this screen capturing experience, Zorin OS 17, the screenshot interface is now an overlay on the desktop. This makes it easier to capture a window or a specific portion of the screen or the entire desktop. You can now record a video of the screen from here without needing to use a third-party screen recording app. To access the new screenshot and recording feature, just press the print screen key on your keyboard, click the camera icon at the top of the quick settings menu, and you're off. A redesigned weather app, again, a new GNOME app. The weather app has been completely redesigned with a more beautiful and informative, rich interface. You can now switch between the detailed hourly and daily forecast for the next 10 days. The weather data is integrated throughout the desktop like the desktop clock, menu, and calendar app, so you can plan your events smarter. And finally, coming soon, 2 new desktop layouts. Switching your desktop layout is one of the standout features that makes Zorin OS familiar and user-friendly. We're making it even better with a more expansive introduction to 2 new layouts on Zorin OS 17, a Chrome OS-like and a GNOME 2-like layout. So for those of you using Chrome OS and or like GNOME 2, you'll be receiving these 2 layouts shortly, and there's so much more. We'll go through these real quick, not reading the exact information, but we have parental controls, a slimmer status pop-up, streamlined pre-installation app selection, remote desktop sharing with RDP, better hardware support, updated theme styling, new logo type, long-term support until 2027, and finally, if you want to test Zorin OS 17 yourself, you can if you check out this blog post, which I'm going to be posting in the description below. Check it out so you can download Zorin OS 17 and try it out for yourself today and give feedback to the Zorin 17 team. And on that, potential improvements, well, maybe they can include enhancements in technologies, perhaps using Pipewire for their audio driver. And really the only other thing I'd say to consider is a more frequent release cycle that aligns with the new Ubuntu versions as well. There's my quick feedback, and here's the login page so you can check this out as well. See what it kind of looks like. I'm typing in my password right now and entering into the desktop environment once more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to restart this desktop real quick and check out the resource usage. You can see that the new TypeScript has been applied in a few places, including at the bottom of the login screen when you're first logging into the computer. The logo does look sharper and better. They've done a good job of the redesign. Once we're finally into the desktop, we're going to check out the resource usage using HTOP. What I have now is the CPU runs somewhere between 0.7 and 2%. The memory usage here is 1.1 gigs, which is kind of on the larger side of resource usage when it comes to memory. There are many different desktop environments which require a lot less memory, but not a big deal because again, it's using GNOME 43 here. There's 112 tasks, 250 threads with a uptime of only 2 minutes here. Many different tasks running in the background, but let's check out that kernel version and some more information here real quick. And in order to check out some of the features here in Zorin, we're going to use NeoFetch. This is Zorin OS 17. It is using kernel 6.2. There's 1,895 source packages and 17 Flatpaks. It's using Bash Shell 5.1. The desktop environment is GNOME 43, with the window manager being Mutter, the theme being Zorin Blue Light, and the terminal we're using is GNOME Terminal. This is being emulated on an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X series, and we're currently using about 1.3 gigabytes out of 8 gigs of memory. Now some questions for you. Would you still consider this a great desktop environment for transitioning from Windows? What do you think about the stability and user experience here in Zorin? Have you had any issues with it? I know that it's been pretty great, minus the fact that it hasn't used the latest and greatest kernels, running a little short on updates. Besides that, there is great community and support here around Zorin. There's always going to be a difference in preferences and some strengths as well as weaknesses. I hope you enjoyed this in-depth review of Zorin. Again, I haven't done one of these in a while, so let me know how I did in the comments section below. Catch me in a great community on Discord. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. I'll catch you in another video. Thanks for watching.